Tonight's starting goalies brought to you by your local New England Audi dealers. Experience Audi Quattro all-wheel drive tonight. Roberto Luongo's had a rough go of it his last 4 starts, 1-3 with a 3.27 goals against average and an .889 save percentage. Tuukka Rask this season at home, a sub-2 goals against average, a .937 save percentage, 3 shutouts. Bruins come into this game in the top spot in the Atlantic Division, up by 4 points with the game in hand on second place Tampa Bay. Vancouver has the last playoff spot in the Pacific. The game is on. Vancouver, a very disappointing performance last night, a 2-0 loss in Detroit. Luongo has to turn away Bergeron's shot right off the bat. Alexander Burrows up to the red line. Throws the puck in deep. Bergeron back after it. Snaps it through to the near side. Riley Smith takes the hit from Alexander Edler. Burrows on the far side. Marchand pops in. Burrows stays with it. Shoves to Henrik Sedin. Back to the post. Daniel Sedin was there on a nice reversal. Now the long shot from the point from Jason Garrison. And Rask cups it for the save.
That's the area of the ice the Sedins can really hurt you. Down low, in and around the net, the short passes, the rotation in the offensive zone, the no-look passes, just because they have a feel for one another and where they're going to be. Short side backhand, Rask. That's a difficult play for a goaltender. You can't pivot and look directly at where the puck is. You almost have your back to it. There's a little bit of a blind spot, even if it's for a second, and if you can take advantage of that as an offensive player, you can score some goals.
Matt Bartkowski wins the puck battle in the circle. Iginla to Lucic, the Vancouver native, over the line, goes into the Canucks zone. Rafael Diaz, who was just traded to the Canucks for Dale Weiss, brings it up ice. Hansen snapshot bounces wide. Ryan Kessler slings it through the corner. Jannik Hansen on the end boards. Johnny Boychuk wrestles with him. Wins the puck battle to David Krejci. Tries to go indirect. Kessler with the steal to Hansen high slot. Iginla picks his pocket and brings it out to the neutral zone. Lucic, funny bounce off the kick plate. Iginla picks it up. Brings it back toward Krug. Kessler clears to the Boston zone. Carl Soderberg again skating center, at least in the pregame 3-on-2s, with Chris Kelly, one of his wings. Now Miller gives the puck away. Tom Sestito's wrist shot, an easy stop for Tuukka Rask.
Now, interesting setup by the Vancouver Canucks. When the Bruins have puck possession, Jack, deep in their own zone, Bruins are going to swing 2 forwards nice and deep in order to come out together to give you all kinds of options. What did Vancouver do? They just backed right off. They went into a quick 1-4 checker. He's just looking to channel things. He's between the blue line and the tops of the circles, and the other 4 Canuck players in the neutral zone taking away a lane.
Louis Eriksson slaps the puck off the end boards. Torrey Krug fires it toward goal. It hits Eriksson in the legs. Sestito clubs it through the neutral zone. No icing. Jordan Schroeder going after the puck. Now it's Zach Kassian locking up with Krug down in the corner. Eriksson against Schroeder. And again, Kassian and Krug, they both go down. Eriksson taps the puck to Kevin Miller. Goes through the seam for Soderberg, working one-on-one against Jan Sauve. Soderberg tries to get to the corner. Sauve shields the puck nicely. Bangs it off the kick plate, and it comes out to Paille. Back to Boychuk. Wiggling puck. Snaps it through the corner. Paille shields it against Sauve. Soderberg right along the goal line comes out on the far corner. Bartkowski's one-timer goes through a wicked screen and goes wide. Boychuk trickles the puck down to the corner. Sauve's got a little trouble on this ship. Paille can't keep it away from Sauve. It's off his skate. Zach Dalpe extending against Johnny Boychuk. Boychuk takes the hit to move the puck D-to-D to Bartkowski. Pascal Pelletier in his face. Now Thornton into the Vancouver zone. Can't wrist it pass, and the Bruins turn it over just inside the blue line at the attacking end. Paille, Chara, Hamilton. Off the boards, Edler steps up and taps it in deep. Hamilton up the half boards. Thornton can't control. Edler cross corner looking for Pelletier, a prolific AHL scorer who has never scored in the NHL in his brief opportunities. Edler quick wrist release, and Thornton blocks it with the stick. Lane back to the goal for Burrows. Groves comes out of the corner with it. Brings it over to Daniel Sedin. He closes, tries the curl and drag, and Hamilton's not buying that. Thornton muscles it out of the zone. Jason Garrison knocks it down. Hamilton looking for the quick up for Thornton, does not connect in. They say it's icing, and that's one of those hybrid icing calls that if it were the old way, Marchand definitely gets to that puck before Ryan Stanton.
Yeah, they try to eliminate any kind of gray area. Who gets to the dot first? Obviously the play by Dougie Hamilton well before the red line. Thornton's coming across, doesn't get a piece, or at least the linesman said he didn't get a piece. Now who's going to get to that puck first? But they're trying to make that as automatic as they possibly can, those icing calls.
Mandatory sentencing just doesn't work. Diaz back of his goal. Smith wrapping him up. Hansen on the half boards. Bergeron making him battle for every inch. Rafael Diaz into the corner. Daniel Sedin gets caved in by Chara. Here's Marchand near the post. Banks it to Boychuk. The bomb hits Riley Smith in the leg. Caroms all the way to Hansen, who had that weird spitball goal in Vancouver. Now Hansen has it knocked off his stick by Chara. Henrik Sedin past the falling referee to Daniel in the corner. Returns to Henrik. Neither one has scored a goal in 16 consecutive games played. And Henrik had 6 games off in between with a rib injury, which ended a long Ironman streak.
And I know they haven't had their head coach for 6 games in 15 days, but that certainly hasn't escaped his attention, the lack of production.
David Booth can't battle it forward. Garrison plops it wide. Booth goes in after the puck. John Tortorella saying that David Booth was Vancouver's best forward last night, which is good for Booth, but bad for Vancouver. And this is bad for the Canucks. 2-on-1, Krejci to Lucic. He scores! Milan Lucic, the Vancouver boy, sends a message back home. It's 1-0 Boston.
In most cases, it all starts on how you bring the puck out of your own zone. And the Bruins do a nice job of it. Forced by Bartkowski, positioned by Lucic. You catch 3 Vancouver Canucks forwards down deep. You attack the middle of the offensive blue line. You push the puck wide. And then you have the net drive. And Ginla does all of that after the nice play by Lucic. And David Krejci will deliver. He will give you every opportunity to get the best spot to score goals on the offensive end. Tape to tape, in stride. Lucic beating everybody up the ice after he made that short little pass on the breakout. And he just rips it by Luongo, blocker side.
Vancouver has 63 points in the standings. 25 of those have come after the Canucks have allowed the first goal. So a very, very resilient team. Third best point percentage when allowing the first goal in the NHL. Soderberg off the skates of Frank Corrado. Corrado and Soderberg in the corner. Soderberg one way, then the other. As Brick mentioned before the game, this is a big body, and he's really come into his own. Eriksson to Miller, the drive save. Luongo, Krug tees it up, and he rattles it off the high glass. Miller off the boards too far forward. Krug gets caught in no man's land, but Vancouver at the end of a shift.
And that pressure starts with Soderberg just muscling along the wall.
Eriksson drives it into Pelletier's legs. Now down the boards for Campbell. He can't pull it off the wall. Jan Sauvé on the check. And Kellen Lane sends it back of his own goal. Now Campbell. Lane bangs him down. Lane's 6'6". And he goes 210. And that was the measurement back in September. He's probably put on a couple of pounds. Bartkowski turns his goal. He's got Campbell on his right. Gregory Campbell up to the attacking line. They say Paille was ahead of the play. 13:29 to go in the opening period. Milan Lucic with his 16th of the season, and the Bruins have a 1-0 lead. 100th assist of Jarome Iginla's career.
And it's a beauty, and it's vintage Iginla coming across from that right wing position, exchanging places with David Krejci, and then it's just a powerful net drive after delivering that little backhand feed to his centerman, the playmaker. You know, you focus on Iginla and you think, wow, 545 goals in his career. That's a pretty select club. And then you say, wait a second, he's got 600 assists now. That's pretty impressive.
That ties Marty St. Louis, who obviously is still counting, at number 77 on the all-time list. Marchand to Hamilton quickly through the neutral zone. Smith takes the Stanton gloves right up in the mug. Bergeron battling on the end boards. Daniel Sedin concerned with Bergeron more than the puck. Hamilton can't keep it in the attacking zone. Burroughs unable to spoon it forward. Henrik Sedin knocks it down into Bergeron's legs, who cut off the pass for Daniel Sedin. Bergeron ahead for Marchand over the line, drops to Bergeron. The shot wide, rebound. Marchand spins it in front. It comes all the way to the high slot. Jannik Hansen has it for Vancouver. Tosses ahead. Booth sweeps the puck forward. Chara with the monster reach and the quick up to the neutral zone. Marchand goes wing to Krejci with Smith the trailer. Krejci dangles inside, comes back past the line. Johnny Boychuk controls. Hard around into the zone, a bounce off a stanchion right past the post. Edler to Kessler to Booth. The wrist shot in the glove saved by Tuukka Rask. You know that bounce off the stanchion. Roberto Luongo plays between the pipes. You know, he doesn't go wandering. So that's why he was able not to have that bounce in off.
You know, when you talk about Bergeron and his three-zone skill set, and he comes back. He's not the first forward back. Marchand was. So what does he do? He takes away the middle of the ice. He gets in the pass lane, bats it down. Quick up through the neutral zone. Get the puck to the headman. That was Marchand that jumps up into the play. And then get up in the play yourself. He takes a nice little back diagonal and rips one just wide.
Tom Sestito. Now Zach Kassian right off of Eriksson's skates. Comes all the way back to the point man. Miller up in front of the penalty bench doors, zips it around past Jordan Schrader. Corrado to the near corner. Sauve up the boards to Tom Sestito. Kelly gives him a bump. Miller's drive. Soderberg the tip in the high slot. Krug forward to the goal line. Eriksson back to Miller to Krug on the rotation. Wrists it off Schroeder's legs, and the puck bounces down to Eriksson. To Soderberg, the short cycle. Sauve guns it off the boards. Vancouver looks for a change. Kevin Miller wraps it around the boards. Boston gets fresh legs on the ice.
Yeah, the Bruins are doing what they want to do with Vancouver playing last night.
Daniel Sedin around Chara. Tries the low angle shot and it goes wide. Henrik Sedin cross ice. Daniel Sedin off the outside of the post. Chara can't stick handle past Henrik Sedin. Chara one-hands it up the boards. Henrik Sedin past Daniel Sedin to the near side. Ryan Stanton jumps up. Daniel in the corner. Henrik Sedin on the backhand brings it back to Stanton. The one-timer goes wide. Diaz tries to chop it middle. Chara gloves it down. Kessler banks it off the end boards. A centering pass by Daniel Sedin. Chara trying to clear it out in front. Kessler off the corner boards. It springs lively to the far side. Rafael Diaz gets knocked down by Lucic and loses his stick in the process. Now Chara gets physical against Daniel Sedin. Here's Iginla, 3-on-2 again. Krejci filling middle with Lucic on the off wing. Iginla tries to squirt it through and Kessler just bangs it out of the zone.
If Iginla could have been just a little bit more patient, we have the advantage of being up here on the ninth floor, but Johnny Boychuk was coming late with a lot of ice in front of him.
Let's go Bruins, the chant from the TD Garden crowd. Johnny Boychuk tries to spin it forward. Zach Dalpe gives it low for Pelletier. He goes around Boychuk's hip check attempt. Dalpe banks it for Edler. It squibs through and hits the apron of the goal. You can hear the clank wide of the post. Campbell wrists the puck to the far corner. Paille. Garrison pops it loose. Bartkowski and Paille there. Now Boychuk has a little bit of space. Campbell tosses it into the gut of Booth. Boychuk covers, goes straight ahead with it, gives it away to Hansen. Hansen flicks it through Boychuk's fingertips. Boychuk hard around on the backhand. Paille, a hop pass. Hansen's flutter ball goes wide. Hey, he scored on a weird one in Vancouver. Why not try it again? Jordan Schroeder scooting on the backhand up the middle, and that splits his defensive pair all the way back to Luongo.
I was making the point about the Bruins doing what they should do. Get the lead in the first period and keep your foot on the accelerator. But a pretty good pushback right now by Vancouver.
This is the pushback that John Tortorella was looking for in the third period last night in Detroit and said was non-existent. Tortorella can make things appropriately uncomfortable for his team, and he has been one of the great motivators of players for a long time in this league. Jordan Schroeder bouncing the puck off the boards. Jamie Erdahl will have more about Tortorella's motivational ways coming out of our next break. Riley Smith skips the puck to the corner. Diaz to Stanton, and there's Marchand wreaking a little bit of havoc. Kessler overskates the puck. Soderberg brings it right back. Marchand dangles. It's off Kessler's stick. Kessler taps it ahead of Bartkowski, and the race is on. Bartkowski with tremendous acceleration. Kessler is a very quick skater, especially for a man of his size.
Explosive by Bartkowski. Thought about making an offensive move. Thought better of it and just exploded to the puck defensively.
Zach Kassian into Chara's corner. Erickson ties him up. Chara tries to pry the puck loose. Erickson good layers. Kelly the tap back to Hamilton. Against the grain to Erickson. He carries it into the zone on the left side. Kelly following toward the corner. Spins back off the hash marks. Erickson to Chara. Quick stick through Soderberg. Edler takes a hit from Kelly to move the puck up the boards. Alex Burrows spins it cross corner for Henrik Sedin. Cuts on the backhand. Whittle swivels to the forehand. Burrows back of the goal. Hamilton gets a tap on the puck, but the Canucks retain possession. Stanton's shot comes out the other side. Daniel Sedin whips it through the goal mouth. Dougie Hamilton picks it up. It's a tumbling muffin all the way toward Luongo. Diaz has to go the other way with it to Stanton. Henrik Sedin drops to Burrows. He overskates it. Henrik Sedin rescues the puck. Diaz indirect looking for Pelletier. This is going to be icing against Vancouver.
Well, Jack, we talked about Dennis Seidenberg, the first 8 games, the Bruins' difficulties in trying to make the adjustments. But we're going to show you what are the adjustments that they made. Kevin Miller in the lineup. He's done a nice job. He wants to get to a loose puck in this area here, and he uses his skating ability. I mean, this isn't a classic highlight of a great hit or a great save or a beautiful goal, but this is what Kevin Miller gives you. If he doesn't have a pass to make, what he does is he gets separation with his feet, gets skating, gets to open space, get all the way to the red line, relieve the pressure, and try to establish a forecheck all on his own doing.
And shielding the puck the whole way, so it was a 99%er at least.
We talked about Bartkowski exploding back to pick up a loose puck. Everybody knows Krug with his offensive skill set. You always see him jumping into the play with real good timing. Dougie Hamilton, what is he going to be like in 2 or 3 years as he continues to develop? And right there, Kevin Miller showing you just a little bit of what he brings to the Bruins lineup.
Diaz to Stanton up the middle. Pelletier takes Burrows' deflected pass. Miller to Marchand toward the line. Burrows and Krug into the Boston zone. Bergeron bats it away from Pelletier. Here comes Marchand. It's 2-on-1. Marchand has to cut back as Vancouver gets good numbers. And there's Krug. He whistles it over the bar. Torrey Krug finding an opening in the high slot. Back comes Zach Dalpe. The shot stick saved by Rask. Rebound to the near side. Back across the middle. Booth shields the puck on the outside. Booth cracks it off Miller's forehand, and it goes off the end boards. Dalpe picks it up, tosses it hard back to Jan Sauvé. Too hot to handle.
Marchand was like a quarterback, Jack, buying time to allow the receiver to change his route and get open. That allowed Krug to find open space in the offensive zone because Marchand stayed with the play.
Thornton on the far side against Schroeder. Manages to get the puck around him to Campbell. Schroeder breaks it up. Campbell gets in front of Schroeder. Now Garrison brings it over to Edler. He swivels it D to D. Garrison to the open wing to Sestito on the off wing. The left shot on the right side. Schroeder brings it back. Edler's one-timer doesn't get much on it. Sestito, big body against Bartkowski. Gets it back to Garrison. Paille breaks it up. Tripping call coming against Jason Garrison. Bruins up a goal. 5.5 to go in the first. They'll have a chance to double their lead. Zdeno Chara reminding Daniel Sedin that he's in Boston tonight. Jamie, thank you. They're going to have to try to fix it against the Boston power play that has gotten hot again. 2 for 5 against Edmonton Saturday. 8 power play goals in the last 8 games for Boston. Zdeno Chara in the corner against Alexander Edler.
14 minutes, 32 seconds.
McGinley tries to fish it out of the skates, and Lucic does. Back to Krejci. Iginla closes toward the dot. Maneuvers around Corrado. Chara through the corner. Crew comes out. Skates right to the top of the circle. Lucic with Chara in front. Goes cross ice off Kessler's skate. Corrado and Chara. Corrado dives over Chara's stick. Kessler takes the puck and wrists it the length of the rink.
Just a little drag in the communication between Chara and Iginla. So who's going to get to that loose puck when it's squirted to the corner? That allowed Corrado to get there first.
This Bruins power play brought to you by Mazda. Ryan Stanton ahead to Jannik Hansen on the shorthanded bid. The backhand saved by Rask. Rebound bottom of the circle. Hansen the other side. Rask goes post to post to block Jannik Hansen.
Yeah, I got the paddle and the blocker down on that move from side to side.
Vancouver has scored 4 shorthanded goals this season. In percentage terms, the Canucks have the 4th best penalty kill in the league. In power play goals allowed, they're 6th best. Hamilton ahead to Soderberg. To Bergeron into the attacking zone. Rifles it cross ice. Eriksson takes it on a hop. Riley Smith to Eriksson. Back to Smith along the line. Hamilton has room. Smith out top. Eriksson past the dot. Smith to Hamilton at the right wing dot. Tries to fire it middle. It's off Edler's skates. Eriksson has it on the perimeter. Toss to the backhand. Too hot for Smith to knock down. Smith gains entry, fires the shot off Edler's stick and up into the protective netting.
Smith's a real good player, a real good passer, playmaker, all of the above. But if you're going to play the point of the power play, once in a while you got to let it fly. They work the puck back to him in the middle of the offensive zone. Even if your shot's going to be off net because you might have somebody in your shooting lane, you got to let it fly. And then his one-man quick counterattack found some open space, tried to shoot it that time, but it got deflected. But if you're going to play that point, you know, he ended up making the pass across to Dougie Hamilton. Hamilton takes it in down by the dot, but the better decision, especially in the power play before it gets under 30 seconds, get something at Luongo.
16 seconds to go on the power play here. Jordan Schroeder wins the face-off against Bergeron, straight back. Hamilton trickles it ahead. Smith to Bergeron off of Schroeder's skates. Rafael Diaz up but not out. Smith throws the puck in deep. Final 5 seconds of Garrison's penalty. 0 shots on goal during the power play. Ryan Stanton gives it to Henrik Sedin. Here comes Daniel, high slot. Bergeron off the boards. Marchand drags the puck along. 3-on-3 up ice. He's got Smith in the middle. Hamilton coming across the slot all the way to the corner now. Marchand to Hamilton. Past the hash marks. Looking for Campbell through the seam. Campbell whips it toward goal, and it goes off Stanton's leg to Daniel Sedin. Into the center circle, Henrik Sedin with the great hands into the Boston zone. Off the left wing boards, Daniel Sedin intentionally wide. Henrik picks it up, chucks it back to the point. It goes into Chara's pads. It gets stuck in his breezers. 2:49 to go first period. Milan Lucic's 16th of the season has the Bruins ahead.
Raymond Bourque with his, what'd you call that, a cooking jacket?
Yeah.
With the Tresca logo on it, his restaurant in the North End. Fabulous spot to eat. I'm getting a little hungry up here.
Is that what you're calling it? Let's just call him a Hall of Famer. That's enough. Kelly off the corner boards. Luongo alert to the lively bounce. Krejci spins off the hit from Kessler and wins the puck to Lucic to Chara. The quick tap to Boychuk. The bomb and a save by Luongo.
You know, think back to early this period when Johnny Boychuk had a chance for a little one-timer and it deflected off the skate. I believe it was Riley Smith. And it went all the way out in the neutral zone, and Hansen almost had a breakaway as a result. Teased this one up, but Luongo well positioned, able to smother that one pretty easily.
Soderberg, Eriksson, Kelly, Hamilton, and Bartkowski from Boston. Schroeder wins the faceoff straight back. Corrado out the far side. Bartkowski hard on the stick of Zach Kassian to send the puck off the end boards. Hamilton gets Sauve's errant pass in the neutral zone. This one deflects over the high glass, and the faceoff will come back to the center dot as the contact with the puck was forward of the red line.
Just curious to get your thoughts going back to the comments that Jamie pointed out from Coach John Tortorella about needing to change the way they play or change the personnel.
I love it. I love it. You know, John Tortorella creates very few neutral observers, but if you look at his record, he has made every team better. He knows the game. He gets to know his personnel. He knows how to get the most out of them. And he's won a cup. Corrado throws it into the slot. Krug makes the block. Kelly goes for a tumble, locked up with Schroeder. Krug up and out, and Eriksson's quickly on the puck. Turns away from Zach Kassian, gets the tap from Soderberg. Kelly can't go through the seam. Kassian juggles it out of the air. Booth unable to beat Krug up the wing. Kassian. Krug just steps between Kassian and the puck and takes it away. Now Krug, the hard short pass for Eriksson. Minute and a half to go in the first. Eriksson loops the puck into the attacking zone. Ryan Stanton knocks it down, sweeps it forward for Booth. Campbell's back pressure breaks that up. Campbell and Hamilton along the boards for Boston. Hansen trying to step inside. Bartkowski knocks the puck around behind the Boston goal. Dougie Hamilton spins it. You could hear Bartkowski saying, "Dougie, Dougie." And here comes Bartkowski to Thornton in the final minute of the first period, but Booth steals from Thornton. Hamilton clamps down on him. Hansen tries to send it front. Dalpe back to Stanton. Stanton, the short toss to Dalpe, and Thornton stabs the puck back to center. That was on him because it was Thornton's turnover at the blue line.
Yeah, so nice reaction, read the play, and got there in a hurry with good stick position.
Thornton sweeps the backhand forward. Marchand pressuring Jason Garrison. Bergeron alone in the corner as Kessler had started to go out of the zone. Chara holds, wrists it toward goal, loose in front. Marchand kicks it up the slot. Daniel Sedin shoves it for Henrik Sedin. 20 seconds to go in the period. Here comes Kessler through the skates of Bergeron. Bergeron and Henrik Sedin far side. Daniel bumps Boychuk. Bergeron gets the puck to the wall. Henrik Sedin to Daniel Sedin. Daniel Sedin with the puck on the toe of his blade, snaps the shot on goal, and Tuukka Rask makes the glove stop with 4 seconds to go.
Nice tracking of the puck by Tuukka Rask, knowing that the clock is winding down. Luongo also had to track the puck pretty well on that wrist shot by Chara. After Marchand gets in first, Bergeron lends support. They use the point. That puck got on Luongo late through traffic. He had to make a reactionary stop, and Rask had to do the same, although not as difficult from the sideboards. A sneaky shot by Sedin.
Off the face-off, Bergeron controls. He'll just waste the clock. And the siren sounds to end the first period. Kessler comes in after the siren. And Johnny Boychuk doesn't really appreciate that too much.
Well, if you take a look at what Vancouver did here in the first period, when they didn't have an opportunity to forecheck, they kind of really backed off, tried to have a lot of structure and try to defend and not allow Boston to dictate pace of the game. They did a pretty good job of that, but they do find themselves down 1-0. They got a quality penalty kill when they need it, and I think because of their schedule, the fact they played last night, travel, difficult game, I think they'd be satisfied only to be down by 1. I think Boston's got another gear and expect to see it the deeper we get into this hockey game.
Well, they better, Dale, because the Bruins managed only 5 shots on goal in the first 20 minutes. Vancouver with a nice pushback in the first period after the Bruins scored 5-12 into it. On a length of the rink counterattack, Milan Lucic, Jerome McGinley picking up the 600th assist of his career, and David Krejci with a team-leading 35 on the season. John Tortorella has done his share of peeling the paint in his team's dressing rooms over the years with Tampa Bay and the Rangers and Vancouver, but he is also probably a lot more of a thoughtful guy than the your life summed up in 11 seconds of YouTube would have you think. This is a Boston guy who appreciates playing the game the right way and responding the right way. He knows he went overboard 2.5 weeks ago, the Calgary game, apologized for it, and now he and the Canucks try to move on. Vancouver carrying a 4-game losing streak into this game tonight. Dougie Hamilton rams the puck around the boards. Chara bounces it into the middle. Marchand has it come right to him. Off the end boards. Bergeron with a tight cycle. Turns off the boards. Fires it off Stanton's stick. Diaz whacks the backhand through the corner. Henrik Sedin Stanton, the defenseman, in the middle of the rush. Daniel Sedin trying to get it back to him. Chara clears, but not out. Diaz off a stick to the far corner. Hamilton after it. Loops it forward. It bounces down for Riley Smith. Can't drag it away from Stanton. Bergeron intercepts at the red line, and Riley's Marchand picked up the back leg, and that's why the play was whistled offside.
Well, I'm sure the message between periods to the Bruins, Jack, was just what we talked about at the end of the first period. Find that next gear. We did some good things in that first period. We certainly established ourselves at times. Had the puck in the offensive zone. Could have got a little bit more with that power play in terms of shots on goal. But bring the emotional needle a little bit higher, the execution a little bit sharper, and let's get some more offensive zone time.
Krejci wins the faceoff, clean past Zdeno Chara's ear. This will be the last game that Chara plays for the Bruins before departing for Sochi to carry his nation's flag in the opening ceremony. Krejci to Boychuk to Bartkowski, up the wall for Lucic. He tosses the backhand into Jason Garrison's corner. Garrison whacks it around for Edler. He can't get it past Iginla on the far side. Garrison on the breakout that Ryan Kessler starts. Now David Booth sprinting to the puck. Rask gets there first. Iginla takes the hit to move it to Krejci. Up ahead for Lucic. The little bit of the weave here. Bartkowski over the line. Looking for Krejci in front. And Hansen tips the puck off the glass. Here comes Booth on the counter. Working Boychuk's side. Booth in front. Stick saved by Rask. Krejci drops it right past Hansen to Iginla to Lucic. And it was a little dicey for a moment, but the Bruins get it out of the zone.
Yeah, not a lot of players try that pass in that situation, but David Krejci does.
Well, he has led the playoffs in scoring the last 3 seasons, so you probably figured the guy's got some slack on the rope.
Looks like they got 6 guys on the ice, don't they, Vancouver?
At least. And the Canucks will be shorthanded for the second time tonight.
That's when you turn the puck over, and it's a good thing in the neutral zone. Boston doesn't make a play between the blue lines. Vancouver ends up with possession, but they hadn't completed the line change. 6 guys on the ice. Boston with a power play opportunity. Not even 2 minutes into the second period. You'll look at the 6 Vancouver Canucks on the ice with possession. That's an easy penalty to recognize and to call. Looking for the Bruins to do more with that man advantage. Again, we mentioned that at the end of the first, Jack. They're going to start with the Bergeron combination, Soderberg, Eriksson. Eriksson looking more and more comfortable, especially on the power play. Getting power play time, getting some penalty killing time, feeling more part of it, and making those short little passes that makes him a very effective power play performer.
Here is Eriksson, the slap pass, Soderberg to Bergeron, the shot blocked down in front. Eriksson gets the stick knocked clean out of his hand. Hamilton to Smith in low, Soderberg pops it up and it floats to Garrison on the deflection. Bergeron rakes it out of the skates of Soderberg and Garrison. Hamilton fakes the shot. Now Eriksson on the far side. Hamilton's one-timer tipped by Bergeron and a save by Luongo. Edler drives the puck the length of the rink.
That's the shot you're looking for. Riley Smith had that chance in the first period, turned it down. Dougie Hamilton, no, put it on goal. A nice redirect by Bergeron.
Hamilton around to Lucic, drops the puck back to Krejci, gives it away to Jannik Hansen. A little 1-2 with Daniel Sedin, but he gets sandwiched by Lucic and Hamilton. Krejci the cutback. Here's Iginla darting down Stanton side. Stanton sweeps the puck away. Chara forward to the goal line. Rims it around to Krejci. Krejci to Krug. He has Iginla down the boards. Crisscrosses with Krejci. Krejci's one-timer sizzles through and hits the end boards. Lucic to Krug to Krejci. He's got Iginla down the wall. Krejci to Iginla. This one-timer saved by Luongo. Krejci to Lucic. Lucic off a stick. Daniel Sedin on the end boards. 3 Bruins in there after him. And we get a hooking call. And the Bruins not pleased with the judgment.
Iginla in particular, because he's the guilty party, and he was explaining to the official why this was a bad call, but that's not going to get you anywhere. And you can see why Iginla's upset. Bruins, they have Vancouver on their heels. They're getting good looks with the power play. And we get a look at them. Eriksson with the fake drive. They worked that nice triangle, but Garrison just in the way of the one-timer by Bergeron. Bergeron again working the middle of that slot area on the one-timer from Dougie Hamilton. Luongo was able to track that puck well, stay in position to make that stop on the redirect.
It'll be 4-on-4 for about half a minute. Vancouver ranked 9th in the NHL with a +2 goal differential, 4-on-4. The Bruins are tied with St. Louis and Montreal atop the 4-on-4 goal differential standings. Schroeder and Booth up front. Garrison and Edler, the defensive pair. Boychuk. Bergeron has Marchand slicing away. Garrison knocks down the cross-ice pass, and Schroeder will regroup. Garrison with about 10 seconds to go in the 4-on-4. Hard off of Schroeder's body, and it bounces down to Bartkowski. D-to-D, Boychuk. Marchand, a little wiggle around Schroeder, gains the line. Stick handles, tries to go through. Edler grabs him, and they both slide to the end boards. 3-on-3 coming back up ice as Vancouver has the power play. Kassian, leg saved by Rask, his best save of the night. It was the pinball flipper. Chara rides the pony with Booth down underneath him. Garrison gets the puck up the wall, and Schroeder can't continue with it.
Almost looked like Chara's reading 3-on-2 with the speed through the neutral zone by the Canucks, so he was a little late coming across and man-on-man coverage.
Garrison the diagonal. Daniel Sedin back to Edler. Campbell takes a swipe at the puck. Henrik Sedin runs into Campbell's check. Edler. Henrik Sedin with Kessler, high slot. Now it's Daniel Sedin with Garrison charging toward goal. Edler's drive goes off of Campbell's arm and into the protective netting. Action at both ends of the ice.
Every now and then you got to try people one-on-one, and Marchand tries 2 or 3 moves, trying to get Edler to move one way or the other. He just held his ground and almost looked like a football play, trying to get across the goal line. And then numbers, or so it appeared, that was Chara's read. Nice little exchange, the backhander from Kassian. Nice left pad stop by Tuukka Rask.
Kessler and Kelly on the face-off. It's a stalemate. And Rafael Diaz, freshly acquired for Dale Weiss in a trade with Montreal, gets it back. Corrado, pocket pick by Kelly. Going 1 against 4 down the boards. Henrik Sedin picks up the stick. Diaz drops it off. Henrik Sedin up toward the attacking line. Daniel will regroup with the pirouette at the red line. Iginla's out of the box. 1 shot on goal during the power play. Kessler banks the pass for Corrado along the line for Diaz. The wrist shot, stick saved by Rask. Through Kessler's skates to the corner. Now Kessler in the near corner. The backhand pass to Henrik Sedin. Daniel Sedin banks it back to Diaz. Quick release into Kelly's legs near the slot. Kelly takes a hit from Kessler to get it to Chara. The diagonal to Eriksson. He holds the puck, waits for Iginla's diagonal move cross ice. Iginla down in the corner against Diaz. Iginla shields the puck, trickles it through to Krejci. Krejci the tight turn back to Lucic. Lucic's wrist shot goes wide. Bartkowski holds down in the corner to Krejci. Middle of the line to Hamilton, a bouncing puck. Tosses it corner. Lucic picks it up. Good zone time for the Bruins right after the kill. Here's Lucic right along the goal line. Hamilton all the way down the hash marks. Right toward goal. It's off Krejci's skate as he wrestles with Corrado. Iginla picks it off from Daniel Sedin. Lucic one-hands it to the wall. And Sedin gets it up and out of play. 13:39 to go second period. Bruins have a successful penalty kill and try to get a surge off it in the troublesome second.
Carl Soderberg is skating well and loving covering as much ice as he can right now. That's according to Claude Julien. Soderberg is versatile and consistent play lately has helped Chris Kelly ease his way back into game speed. Soderberg's our key matchup tonight, brought to you by your New England Chevy dealers. On a 4-game point streak, the Swede, Saturday's goal and an assist with his 6th multi-point game so far this season.
Jamie, thank you. Soderberg not included in the national team for the Olympics for Sweden, and they may miss him at some point. It has really been enjoyable to watch Carl Soderberg emerge and blossom as a North American player. The learning curve is still pretty steep, and he's gaining ground fast.
And I think that's the perfect way to say it, Jack, how much he has learned in his time here in Boston. He's been coached up by the coaching staff, but he's had a willingness to make little changes in his game. It all started in the offseason after being exposed last year, and especially during playoff time, what it takes to play and compete in the National Hockey League. He changed some of his training regimen, and it's paid off dramatically, and he's learned. He's learned within the system, and he uses his skill set, and he looks a lot freer playing center as far as the offensive creativity part of the game is concerned.
John Tortorella juggling his lines, and Schroeder with the net front redirection. Schroeder out there with Alex Burrows and Pascal Pelletier. Those three started the game on different lines, all of them, and the Bruins are going to be on the power play with Garrison going to the box for the second time tonight.
He's pitching down the wall. He's the one that pitched down the wall on the Lucic goal. He's pitching down on Marchand this time, and Marchand does that little hesitation, find the puck, step around him, the free hand. Here you go back to the Iginla penalty. What is the threshold? If you're going to call that penalty of Iginla for one hand on his stick, trying to free the puck up, then they're going to call that free hand hold by Garrison. Another power play for Boston.
It is the 12th time this season that Marchand has put Boston on a power play by drawing a penalty. And that leads the team.
Penalty number 5.
Crow closes the wrist shot, goes off the skates of Rafael Diaz.
Garrison minor penalty holding at 7:03.
Diaz with Montreal averaged 2 minutes and 44 seconds of shorthanded time per game. A lot of special teams percentage in his total playing time. Daniel Sedin ahead of Jannik Hansen, and Rask paddles the puck to the sideboard.
The Bruins had what they wanted. That Lucic to Chara step into the offensive zone, puck possession play. Chara's return pass back to the point.
This is a mess. Daniel Sedin walks in, saved by Rask. Tuukka Rask with a save of the game. Chara down to the hash marks, fires in middle, Iginla scores! How's that for a sequence? Rask with robbery at one end and the insurance goal at the other.
Some confusion by Boston on their regroup in the neutral zone. Incidental contact. Crew gets tripped up, runs into Lucic, and all of a sudden it's Sedin in alone. They haven't scored in a long time, the Twins, and they're denied again. Tuukka Rask, the patience, holds his ground, and then up ice because the Bruins have numbers. They step into the offensive zone. Chara walking down that left wing wall, looking over. What are my options? Back to the near point. Cross diagonal to the right point. All of a sudden he sees Iginla get separation off that far post. Outside the paint, between the paint and the hash marks, and it's a bullet pass. You almost got to be a 500-goal scorer to handle that pass and one time it at the same time.
Off the face-off, Matt Bartkowski rolls the puck around through the corner. Zach Dalpe out through the neutral zone. The puck up on edge. Bartkowski wins the race to the dots. It's icing.
And number 17, Milan Lucic. Time of the goal, 7 minutes, 59 seconds.
Another look at the save by Tuukka Rask. He's been sharp here tonight.
16th goal of the season, a power play
It's when you
goal
make your
for
saves that really most important to the rest of the team.
Dano Chara and Milan Lucic.
Sedin thought he had that subtle, as if I might go high, glove side. And the minute you move that left part of your body, your glove, your left leg, it opens up the 5-hole. But Rask had the stick well positioned, and he didn't bite.
Bartkowski's drive, stick saved by Luongo. Eriksson with a good read, throws it into some bodies. Luongo Luongo, the cheer from the 17,565 at TD Garden. Bartkowski's one-timer saved by Luongo. The Bruins beginning to lay siege to the Vancouver end. Soderberg looking for Eriksson across the goal mouth. Bartkowski along the line. Miller keeps it in twice. Now here's Kelly finding Soderberg. Soderberg's shot goes over the top. Corrado might have gotten a stick on it. Now it's Miller spinning off the hit by Sauve. Back to Bartkowski. The drive and a save by Luongo. And Kelly making life difficult in front of the Vancouver goal. A tumbling muffin down the ice, and that'll be icing against the Canucks.
Well, the crowd just totally energized right now. It started with the save by Rask, the sequence goal by Iginla, and what a follow-up shift right here by the two Swedes and Kelly. You hear the two Swedes, you think Sedins. No, Soderberg, Eriksson. The rotation in the offensive zone. This has forced Vancouver to take a timeout with the icing. They're spent. They're being dominated now by the last couple of minutes. Great rotation in the offensive zone. Soderberg had two real good looks. The first one, he was close to the net, right in the slot. Maybe he fires that puck in that situation, but he thought he had to play to Eriksson off the side of the net. But then he found himself on a one-on-one. The little fake shot, step inside. He ripped that one up over the crossbar, but a quality shift. Shots from the point, but it's that movement, Jack, the rotation, and then the execution when you find the seams to make the right pass and deliver the perfect pass.
A lot going on in the NHL Toyota game break with Dale Arnold.
Thank you, Jack. We've got the New York Rangers with a 1-0 first period lead against Colorado. Brad Richards for Ryan Callahan beat Semyon Varlamov, second goal of the game. Rangers take a 2-0 lead. Right now they lead 3-1 in the second period, Jack.
Dale, thank you. Rangers better get something awful good if they're going to trade Callahan. He's the kind of guy that wins playoff series for you. Yeah, the statistics aren't that great, but look at Bergeron's stats.
Yeah, he was really banged up from what we understand in that series against the Bruins a year ago in the postseason. Immediate surgery after they lost to Boston, but I'm not sure if he was 100% or would have made a difference. The Bruins were so dominant against the Rangers.
Yeah, Torrey Krug exploding onto the scene, but you know, you never heard Callahan whimper or make any excuses. Every shift as hard as he could. The kind of player that really wins a lot of respect around the league for the way he plays. Marchand can't pull it down low. Lane chucks the puck all the way down into Boychuk's corner. Boychuk hammers into the end boards. Lane got the body on him. We told you Lane's a big boy, going 6'6" and 210 at least. Ryan Stanton off the boards in the neutral zone. Riley Smith tries to lift Kessler's stick. Smith to Marchand. Marchand runs smack into a good body check from Ryan Stanton. Gets flattened. Kessler, the short pass. Bergeron recovers it in the seam.
The Bruins on the receiving end of a couple of, I won't say incidental contacts, certainly not the second one on Marchand.
Here comes Marchand. The shot stick save. Luongo, juicy rebound. Smith saved by Luongo. Kevin Miller has a little space. Tries to get it into the slot for Smith. Booth to Hansen. Bartkowski bangs him right off the puck. Danish pastry. Bartkowski sweeps the puck through the corner. Diaz cracks it on goal. A blocker stopped by Rask and a 40-foot rebound as he steers it to the far boards. Miller on the end wall mugging Booth. Booth stays with it and chips it to the near corner. Bergeron to Marchand, and he pops it out to center.
I just finished that thought. It was Lane's incidental contact, which is what I was referring to on Boychuk. That was a good non-call. And then it was Marchand at the offensive blue line just inside. He had to reach way out in front of him. Now you don't have the leverage or the ability to avoid body contact when Stanton stepped into it.
Miller to Paille, runs into the check of Alex Edler. Now Jason Garrison. Schroeder banks the indirect pass. It wobbles past Pelletier, who was briefly a Bruins property. Zach Kassian. Edler to Garrison. Returning it D to D. Now Schroeder into the Boston zone on Chara's side. Here's Kassian shot. Blocker saved by Rask. Stanton throws it through the slot. Redirected off the glass. Diaz rolls it through both corners. Daniel Sedin pivots on the backhand. Off the referee's skates. Zach Kassian takes it back to Stanton, to Kassian, to Diaz. Puck on edge. He scores! Rafael Diaz scores his first goal in 54 games, and Vancouver gets back in it at 2-1.
Well, the trouble starts in the neutral zone, Jack. The Bruins trying to get their structure. Thornton's up, but now you have Paille and Campbell. They both swing in the direction away from the puck, and that opens up too much ice. It allows Kassian to get a quality scoring chance that Rask was able to get with the right side of his body. And this is like a knuckleball with almost fastball speed. I don't think it was touched, but it sure looked like it dipped about a foot, maybe a half a foot of the drive from Diaz at the right point. He can shoot the puck, and when it's on edge and wobbling, you get a lot on it. That puck can do some funny things, and it beats Rask left side.
Rask's got to be wondering what Vancouver is loading up the puck with, because you remember from December 14th, that really weird shot by Jannik Hansen from the neutral zone that hit the shaft of Zdeno Chara's stick, and then it was like a 12-6 curveball. That thing just dropped off the table, bounced right in front, and took a weird hop past Rask. Kind of emblematic of the way the night went for Tuukka Rask and the Bruins.
Yeah, but it was that replay that showed that the Bruins and the neutrals will kind of get lost in their structure, and that really leads for a good team to make good plays. You give it time and space, Cassie gets a real good chance. That was a nice stop by Rask with the blocker. And then he get beat with a funny one from the point.
Lucic with the hit on Edler. Garrison whacks at the puck. Now Hansen scrapes it into Chara's corner, and the race is on. Hansen steals from Chara, comes around, it's tumbling through the slot, and Kessler gets spun around on a couple of hits. Lucic takes a big hit from Booth to move the puck out of the zone. Corrado, a jump in Vancouver's stride. The Canucks energized by the goal and cuts the lead to 1.
Well, when you go down by 2, and I'm not sure what's said on the bench, but it's, what are we doing here? We're going to try to win this hockey game. We're going to compete. Let's go. Let's step it up.
Soderberg over the line after he broke up the Vancouver breakout in the neutral zone. Now Chara tries to seal it in. Schroeder taps past Miller on the diagonal, but Booth picks up the puck on the Boston line. Kelly and Booth on an executive desk toy hit. They just went bouncing off each other. Chara forward for Kelly. Now Soderberg bouncing puck into Stanton's corner. Soderberg strong on the stick. Eriksson keeps it alive. Schroeder turned back on Kelly's sweep check. Now it's Soderberg working against Stanton. Stanton back of his goal for Corrado. Kassian off the boards. It comes right to Miller to Krug. Krug on the pivot. He wrists a roller through the corner. Luongo taps it over to Corrado. Corrado off the boards. It hits Pelletier's legs. Bergeron cross ice. Krug jumps up on the play with Smith the trailer. Smith's shot blocked by Stanton. Krug down low. Smith for Marchand. He scores. Luongo outraged, saying he was interfered with, and the referees will consult.
Well, the call on the ice was a goal. You can see the referee when Luongo was complaining, shake him off, say, no, that's going to be good. But it started with Bergeron again in the neutral zone, protecting and then throwing the puck laterally across the ice to space to allow Krug to skate into that puck. He delays and he finds Riley Smith coming late. There's your play by Bergeron. Krug with a good gap, jumps into the play, the shot block. They stay with it, and there's the contact with Torrey Krug on Luongo. Is Luongo afforded an opportunity to get separation, get back up and make a save? That's what he was arguing about. And how did Krug get there in the first place is the other consideration. The shot blocked by Stanton. Krug trying to back in. Is Luongo afforded the opportunity, or is Krug impeding that opportunity to make a save? Heads up play by Smith. Good position by Marchand. Loose coverage by Vancouver. And the discussion taking place right in front of the timekeeper's box.
Chara and Henrik Sedin, the two captains, at the edge of the referee's crease. The referees tonight are Wes McCauley and Gord Dwyer.
And if you're thinking that this goal is not going to count, you may be right. try to bring up the reason why was Luongo. I don't think there's going to be a penalty on the play, but they may take the goal away from Boston. So after the review, just to finish that thought, you see the referee go clear across the ice to the Bruin bench. You know that's a bad sign. I'm sure Claude agrees with the call.
Yeah, they usually don't go over to inform you that the goal's going to count, right?
But you tried to, we showed a number of replays. Krug backs in. He's trying to get to the loose puck. He doesn't get knocked in there by a Vancouver player.
Right.
And that's what the replay is going to show you. But does he prevent Luongo an opportunity for making the save? And after the discussion, they deem that a no goal.
Dalpe holds the wrist shot. Blocker stopped by Rask, knocking it out of the way of Sestito, who's cruising in from the weak side. Soderberg tosses the puck into Diaz's corner. Kelly wraps him up. Stanton one-hands it back to the corner. Soderberg right along the goal line, and Luongo holds the post. Diaz sweeps the puck up the wall. Miller pinching in, and Eriksson on the rotation to keep the puck in the attacking zone. Diaz chops it D to Stanton, up to Dalpe. He pries it out to center. Miller quickly to Bartkowski. Bartkowski, the long diagonal. Paille on the pivot. Shields the puck on the wall through Soderberg. The Bruins will change out with 5.5 to go in the second. Sedin puts himself offside. 30-second break as we look at Chris Kelly on the big hit against David Booth. Milan Lucic, 53rd multi-point game of his career. He and Jarome Iginla have a goal and an assist for the Bruins cause. Chara feeds Bergeron. He redirects the backhand up the wall. Garrison around the boards hard, but a good pitch from Dougie Hamilton. Adler goes to the end wall. Daniel Sedin off Riley Smith's stick. It trickles middle. Garrison to Henrik Sedin to Burrows into the Boston zone. Shot on the end boards. Daniel Sedin on pressure. Chara holds his ground, and Bergeron is there. Hamilton, the long diagonal outlet for Marchand, comes across the middle. Stick check by Jason Garrison. Daniel Sedin to Henrik Sedin. It goes through to Burrows. Burrows goes for the shot. It's off of Hamilton's stick. It ramps up and out of play.
Vote for the Amica Coverage Play of the Week. Get in to win a $100 gift certificate to the Pro Shop at TD Garden, courtesy of NESN. Enter now at NESN.com/Amica Coverage Cam.
Shots are 9-9 in the second period. 18-14 for Vancouver in the game.
Yeah, you got to admire Vancouver and what they were able to do after going down 2-0. This building was rocking pretty good in favor of the Bruins. A lot of momentum, but good pushback again. We saw one in the first period, and we saw one at a more critical time after that sequence, too. The save by Rask, the goal by Iginla.
Lucic gets the train on the tracks, but he's skating 1 against 4. And Vancouver ices it on Diaz's clear.
That's funny, Jack, the things you remember, when Eriksson scored off his skate the other night, we were trying to determine whether they were going to count that. You immediately thought of the Campbell goal. It was taken away. They took away the Eriksson one. Now they take away the Marchand one.
Fortunately for the Bruins, they have been generating a ton of offense of late. This pass gets all the way to the end boards. Boychuk takes a big high hit from Booth and takes exception to it. Now Hansen down in the corner. Boychuk gives Booth the forearm shiver, and another one. Booth stays on his skates. Hansen, the quick turn, saucers the pass for Rafael Diaz. The snap shot goes all the way through to the corner off the skate of Lucic. Now Krejci and Hansen on the far side. Hansen the reverse, loses Krejci, but then he loses the puck. Boychuk, just for fun, throws the shoulder into Hansen and sends the puck to the near side. Lucic off the boards into the middle. Kessler brings it back to Stanton, and Kessler, the shot knocked down at the near post. Tuukka Rask holding the near side. Hansen, who's had a good shift. Krejci goes hunting for him, and they both get flattened down into the corner. Booth sizzles one off the high glass. Now Booth at the right point closes the drive, rattles off the end boards. Diaz going for his stick and then electing just to skate straight to the bench after big collisions with Lucic. Booth drags the puck back, holds, sends it through the slot, nobody home. Boychuk, the sneak away to Paille on a breakaway. He scores! That'll count. 3-1 Boston.
What a monster shift by Johnny Boychuk. He had a little problem with Booth because it started with Booth running a little screen when that puck was up for grabs on the hybrid icing. It went in favor of Vancouver, and then it was really man-on-man coverage, a lot of one-on-one battles. That's a lengthy shift for a defenseman back in his own zone. And once the puck came into the neutral zone, the Bruins were able to get partial line change, which means Danny Paille is able to step out. The long change in the second period pays off for Boston. Paille steps on, but you have to have the recognition, and Boychuk was able to find him in his peripheral, and he delivered a perfect pass. And Paille protecting the puck, goes to the backhand. Luongo had no idea where that puck was going, and it went right through him.
Boston goal
Ricky
scored by
Moffat
number
talked about the many forms of toughness that players show. Johnny Boychuk's body's got to look like a connect the dots puzzle. The number of shots he blocks, at times he gets doubled over during games, and you think, wow, that's it. He'll be gone in a couple of weeks. He'll be back without missing a shift after a little pain management. And then he can make a pass like that. We all know about the rocket of a shot the guy's got.
No, he's got complete game, and he's just so important to the Bruins. He's your number 3 defenseman if everybody's healthy, but he's playing like a 1A right now.
Johnny Boychuk doing it from one end to the other. 3-1 Bruins. You know, I respect Lindy Ruff a ton, and he's an associate coach for Team Canada, but his is the only one of the 3 teams that currently is not in the playoff structure. They're 23 points behind Chicago in the Central. The Rangers are in second in the Metropolitan, but they are 17 behind Pittsburgh, which is just running away with the East. Luongo, the cheer from the crowd. TD Garden was a house of horrors for Roberto Luongo during the 2011 Stanley Cup Final, and the crowd will remind him every chance it gets.
Well, they weren't happy, the fans, that is, that they took away the Marchand goal, and Luongo won his argument about not having an opportunity to make the save. But they had their spirits lifted shortly thereafter, after a monster shift by Johnny Boychuk and the finish by Danny Paille on a breakaway.
Boychuk's in the middle of the blue line. Bergeron wins the faceoff off the boards. Sedin rolls it to the corner. Kessler chopping away at Boychuk as they go toward the wall. Daniel Sedin and Bergeron. Daniel Sedin fires it on Rask, and it flips over to the end boards. Marchand to Bergeron, quickly to Smith. A burst of speed on Edler, hits the brakes, trickles it to the corner off Edler's skates. Bergeron guns it through the goal mouth. Chara's one-timer save. Luongo. Bergeron in front. Marchand shot still loose, and the puck goes to the corner after the whistle. The referee lost sight of it. The face-off in the Vancouver zone.
Now Marchand running off the post jack on his backhand. Big drive by Chara from the point. Bergeron, who made the play from one side of the ice to the other. He uses the back of the net to get kind of lost in coverage, and he ends up on the right side for the rebound. And he chops away at it, but Marchand finds it. He's got that open side. All he wants to do is get rid of it as quickly as he can. He does. Unfortunately, he catches the post, and the puck stays out. Nice breakout by Boston, too. They moved it quickly, got it to the neutral zone. Nobody moving, nobody hanging onto the puck too long. Quick puck movement with speed. Bergeron, Riley Smith, they enter the zone. Now you got good rhythm to your offense.
Kevin Miller's shot comes off a stick to the near side. Erickson wins the race to the puck. Now Soderberg forward to the goal line against Pelletier. Banks the pass to Miller. Miller backs up, drives it off the legs of Schroeder. Bartkowski wrists it around through the corner. Kelly takes the hit from Stanton, but here's Erickson, turns the backhand. Kelly holds his position near the post. Pelletier hits him. Diaz around through the corner. Now it's Miller back to Erickson on the rotation. Bartkowski tapping the stick near side.
1 minute remaining
Miller
in
off
the period.
Schroeder's legs. Final minute of the second period. The Bruins up by 2. Erickson past the blue line. Bartkowski regroups at the red line and sends it in as Boston changes out.
Nice patience, too, by Erickson to stay out at that right point because Kevin Miller had stayed in by the dot.
Important final minute of this second period. Boychuk off Kessler's stick. Boychuk blows a tire. Kessler rips it free. Cassian spins it off Bartkowski's skates in the slot. Now here comes Lucic. He's got Soderberg on the right. Iginla charging up the left. Jerome Iginla for the shot. Saved by Luongo with about 24 to go.
You know, there's some people that refer to the Vancouver Canucks as, and these are Bruins fans, I'm saying, as Montreal West. When you start talking about that emotion and that dislike, certainly 2011 has a lot to do with that. Kessler plays as one of those Vancouver Canuck players along the edge. It's in on Boychuk. Maybe had a little skate in there on that finish hit, knowing where he was in relation to the boards and where the legs were. Some of that stuff does not go unnoticed.
Just to file away as we look toward the third period. It was Kessler who was involved with Iginla in that fight back in December when Iginla mangled his finger. Chara wrists the puck through the corner. Krejci gets a tap on a Boychuk. A green light hit on Booth. Oh, he took the number and he drilled David Booth. Chara knocks the puck forward for Krejci. 10 seconds to go in the period. Johnny Boychuk must be giggling on the inside. Boychuk spins off the attempted hit by Hansen. Krejci along the goal line. The siren sounds, and that'll do it for the second period. And Edler cross-checks Krejci, who shot it after the siren had begun to sound. It'll be 3-1 Boston when the third period begins. Johnny Boychuk having an outstanding second half of the second period.
Oh, try to point out why he was bothered by Booth after he had said prior to the setting up high on the breakaway goal. And you're right, Jack, you said it perfectly. He knew exactly who wears number 7, and that's why he was pitching down the wall at the right time, stayed within the rules. Great body contact.
Alongside Andy Brickley with Jamie Erdahl at ice level and our NESN production crew, I'm Jack Edwards. We're coming your way live from TD Garden. If you're just tuning in as we approach the top of the hour, don't worry about the snow. That's not coming till tomorrow. Bruins in Vancouver here in what is an ever more spirited game, shift by shift. Brick.
Yeah, and that's fine with the Bruins, I think, Jack. And, you try to stay disciplined, but there is a serious dislike for this team. And the goal differential in favor of Boston in the third period. You got a team that's on the road. They played last night. They're a little banged up. Go after them.
Game summary brought to you by your New England Ford dealers. Third period goals for Boston was 63. Tied for first in the NHL. And here's Marchand in the first few seconds of the period. Vancouver, on the other hand, has had a real hard time finding the back of the net. 43rd period goals, ranks number 29 in the 30-team league. Burrows' backhand bounces around to Daniel Sedin, reverses to Henrik right in front. Hamilton right there as Chara was checking Henrik Sedin. Riley Smith to Bergeron on the backhand, bounces in on Luongo. And he'll take the face-off in his own end.
Nice patience by Dougie Hamilton to get right back to the front of the net when the play was below the goal line. His defense partner, Zdeno Chara, slides it behind the net. You get right back to the front of the net. This is the way the Bruins defend. Patience, protect the house, take away the dangerous area, body stick position, and then make the right decision when you get it. Quick little breakout, nice exchange. Riley Smith treats Bergeron, entering to the offensive zone, but it all starts with positioning back in your own end.
Dougie Hamilton playing just his 81st NHL game. Sometimes we just take it for granted. But that young man has come an awful long way in a short time. Edler, the long stretch pass for Hansen, trying to sneak through the seam, and Bartkowski shows that he doesn't lose a lot of races. Iginla's offside. The Forest trivia question: who was the last Vancouver Canuck to lead the National Hockey League in goals scored? Visit NESN.com/TheForest for the answer and enter to win a $50 gift certificate that can be used at the Forest Restaurant and Sports Bar in Boston, Quincy, or Norwell.
I remember towards the tail end of my career, I had a chance to play in Vancouver against a guy named Burry. All of a sudden, I had him all angled off. I still don't know where he went.
You had him in your sights till you lost him in that puff of smoke. It smelled like exhaust, didn't it? Edler bounces it toward Raskin past the post. Lucic one-hands it. Garrison keeps the puck in the attacking zone. Bartkowski, the simple pass up the boards. Lucic comes cross ice to Iginla from the blue line. Stick save, high rebound, bounces right on the dot. Krejci. Krug steps into one, misses it well wide. Miller jumps down from the blue line, gives it forward to the goal line to Kelly.
Think Krug was trying to get that to Kelly? Sure looked like it.
Yep. Schroeder hits the brakes 1 year at the University of Minnesota. Zach Kassian out of the corner. Eriksson off glass, up but not out. And Soderberg finishes the job, bodying it forward against Jan Sove. Soderberg in by his skates where he's so crafty with the stick. And then he sends the puck to the corner. Corrado knocks it around but doesn't get much juice on it. Eriksson angles the skates but Soderberg can't control. Here's Sove hard off the end boards. It rattles right into the legs of his teammate Corrado. Sestito on the clear. Raskin to the corner, gives it away to Lane. Lane to Dalpe. The shot off a skate. Here comes Thornton turning it back. He's got Paille far side. Thornton. Stick stopped by Luongo. Campbell taking the hit from Lane on the end boards. Diaz reverses and knocks it over to Stanton. Sestito rattles it off the end boards. By the way, take away Edler's assist on Diaz's goal and give it to Stanton. There was a scoring change between the second and third period. Bartkowski ahead for Campbell onto the right side in the neutral zone. Sean Thornton drags it back against Stanton, opens up a little seam, tosses it into the crease. Paille taking a swipe, but Luongo knocking it away.
Yeah, pretty good idea by Thornton after that nice move just outside the offensive blue line. Delay and try to make an area pass with the speed of Paille.
Riley Smith stays tough in the neutral zone, and Henrik Sedin has to dump it to the corner. Kessler pursuing Chara. Chara off the boards. Daniel Sedin picks it out of the air. Dougie Hamilton one-hands it toward the corner, but there's Kessler with terrific pursuit. He and Bergeron, a couple of former Selke Trophy winners, wrestling along the wall. Riley Smith to Chara. Chara has to poke it back to the boards and gets the rebound off of Daniel Sedin. Hamilton holds right up the middle for Bergeron, who made himself available in space. Riley Smith hits the Jets, cuts inside, taps it over to Marchand. Falling, he gets it off the toe of the blade, and it's wild high. Burrows on the quick counter. The long wrist shot from Booth and a glove save by Rask, and Burrows nips away at Tuukka Rask's glove. Johnny Boychuk says howdy do to Burrows on the end boards. The road ahead brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Off to St. Louis tomorrow. When? Well, depends on the snow. But the Blues, well, they're pretty good.
Yeah, they're an impressive team. Before you even start talking about their forwards, their big three on the blue line. Talking about Pietrangelo, Shattenkirk, and Bouwmeester having terrific seasons. If you're number fourth defenseman, it's kind of like Jackman, you're in pretty good shape. The question is, can they contend for a Stanley Cup? As far as the goaltender's concerned, Elliott, Halak, is that enough in the Western Conference?
Ryan Miller.
But I mean, you got a guy like Backus leading the way, emotional, real good sentiment. Alex Steen having an unbelievable season for those guys. I mean, they're deep and they're balanced. That's a good club.
Bartkowski holding the puck through the seam to Krejci at the dot and cross to Iginla. The one-timer off Diaz, and it floats to the near side. The Bruins opening up all kinds of seams. Iginla mucking for the puck. Hansen, Boychuk rides him off. Heartbreaking news this week as Vladimir Sobotka suffered apparently a broken kneecap and will miss the Olympic Games. He has had a terrific year for St. Louis, so we will not see him on Nesson on Thursday night. Krejci across to Iginla. The wrist shot bounces off Diaz's legs to center.
Sobotka had been healthy. What do they would have had? 10 Olympians?
Yeah.
St. Louis Blues?
Just tremendous. Not to mention the coach, who's an associate coach for Team Canada. Tuukka Rask sending it to the near boards. Kelly swipes the backhand to Eriksson. Soderberg with speed, drawing it wide against Corrado. Off Corrado's skates. Soderberg takes the hit on the end boards. Here's Eriksson with a quick recovery off the hit. Back to Boychuk. The one-timer and a leg save by Luongo. Soderberg unopposed, turns to the post, trickles it through the crease. Kelly wings the diagonal back to Boychuk, keeps it onside. Soderberg tries to get it through traffic low, and that's going to be icing as Sauvé wrists it all the way down the rink. Vancouver already has used its timeout, so the Bruins might be well served to get out there in a hurry.
Hurry up offense. Of course, Vancouver will do everything they can to slow this face-off down. And when you take a look at Louis Eriksson, I mentioned it earlier, he's getting more and more confident, more and more healthy. When he's able to win a little battle like that, that tells you something. He's got a better awareness, better peripheral vision on what's going on around him. I think he likes playing with Kelly and along Soderberg. They've worked real hard. They've had a lot of hockey conversations. And you can see they make automatic plays, knowing where each other's going to go ahead of time on certain plays when they step into the offensive zone. If they don't have a play to the middle of the ice, where do they want to put it in order to maintain possession? And that's all good stuff.
Funny how things work out sometimes, isn't it? Because Eriksson was brought in as a top six forward, and the big question in the offseason was, would the third line produce again? And after 2 concussions, he ends up coming back on the third line, and it's pretty productive right now.
Well, that's what you say. If Louis Eriksson's in your top 9, you got a pretty good team.
Yeah. Campbell tries to shovel the backhand through Corrado, but can't. Now tries to get it off the skates of Sauvé. Bartkowski to the attacking line to Thornton, bounces it toward the slot. Sauvé, the tight turn away from Campbell. The long diagonal at Pies right in the passing lane. Good stick position. To Thornton. Thornton's wrist shot. Stick saved by Luongo. He angles it up and out of play. 13:37 to go in the game. The Bruins up on Vancouver. 3-1 at TD Garden.
Chance to talk to Doug Jarvis between periods about Johnny Boychuk and what he means to this club, and he broke it down pretty well. You know, it's hard to measure heart. It's hard to measure courage. You can look at all the statistics you want, but if you're a teammate of Johnny Boychuk's, all you got to do is watch him play and practice, and you know what you got. You got a stand-up guy that's real important to this back end on the Bruins, and he has developed into a real nice player at the National League level.
And here is Boychuk, middle of the line, sends it to Bartkowski. The wrist shot off the post and out. Bartkowski still looking for his first regular season goal in this, his 60th NHL game. Boychuk still getting even with Booth. Rask makes a stick save on Garrison, who unloaded on the angle. Marchand and Hansen 2-on-2 up ice. Riley Smith. Marchand jumps the line. Johnny Boychuk leaving marks on David Booth.
Now, one of the best feelings you can have as a defenseman is if you have back pressure from a forward, like he gets right here. Riley Smith on the back check. Booth has no play but to carry that puck down the wall. Maybe he can try a little self-pass, chip and chase. That way you avoid the contact, perhaps. But Boychuk committed to the hit because he knows he has the back pressure. That's a good gap and a big hit.
Smith paralleling Booth. Almost put him in a kill box. Boychuk was the end of the alley. Chara with a long reach to nudge Burroughs' pass away from Henrik Sedin. Hamilton wiggles the puck to Marchand through the center circle. Drags it wide, drops it off for Chara, who can't bring it along. Daniel Sedin goes indirect looking for Burroughs, who whacks at Hamilton. Hamilton ices it, and the faceoff back to Tuukka Rask's.
Be sure to watch NESN Sports Today, presented by People's United Bank, over the next 2 weeks, as they'll have daily coverage of Bruins players competing for their home countries at the Sochi Games. NST will also have Jerry Remy's exclusive 5-part Red Sox spring training preview every night at 10, also over the next couple of weeks.
Chara squirts it over to Marchand. He saucers the pass cross ice. Iginla back to Hamilton. Goes vertical for Krejci coming all the way across the ice. He beats Kessler. Wrists it well wide. Lucic goes for the drive and a save by Luongo. So from one end of the ice to the other, the Bruins get an attacking zone faceoff now.
Yeah, Hamilton ices the puck, but the Bruins are really confident in the faceoff circle. They got a 2-goal lead. You got no problem with that. They win the draw. Chara gets the puck, and Marchand actually comes nice and low on that strong side. Simple little pass. He's wide open. Now he has time to make a play, and he goes across the ice underneath the pressure to Iginla. And now the Bruins get something going coming out of their own zone. Krejci gets open the neutral zone. Marchand's able to make a change. And when that puck ends up on the far side of the ice, it's Lucic coming on the ice. He's got a chance to put the puck right on goal.
Lucic in the shooter's position. Krejci to Lucic to Krug. The drive saved by Luongo. Kassian turns it back middle of his defensive zone. Lucic comes across the blue line and slows down the breakout. Schroeder has had a pretty good game. Gets it in deep. Krejci wrists it around. Pass Zach Kassian. Iginla taps the backhand off the boards. Lucic tries to spin it middle. Schroeder can't get it. Here comes Iginla. His bomb and a save by Luongo. The Bruins now with 27 shots on goal and 21 for Vancouver.
Yeah, the last two. This one here, obviously, Iginla, after Lucic stayed with the play along the wall. One-on-one against Garrison. You just got to tee it up from the outside. Almost looked like Iginla wanted to put it through Luongo, not even pick a corner. And the one prior to that was right off the face-off win. They win it right to Lucic in the shooter's position, as you said, Jack. Lucic really doesn't have a lane, or didn't think he had a lane, so he found Krug. And Krug teed one up, tried to beat Luongo, block aside.
Lane wins the face-off. Sauve off the boards. Sestito and Miller in a race, no icing. But bounces around to the hash marks. Dalpe to Sestito in the corner. Dalpe pokes it loose again. Miller tries to go up the board. Sestito mucking for the puck. Miller right there with him. Trickles it ahead to Eriksson. Eriksson tries to wrist it off the glass. Sauve knocks it down.
Again, quick feet, quick hands by Miller in the one-on-one battle. You don't have to overpower people. Use your skill set.
Shots on goal are 12-2 since the Bruins scored their third goal. 9-2 in the third period. Eriksson, the sure backhand across to Kelly, off the skates of Kessler. Ryan Stanton through the corner, gives it away to Eriksson on the indirect. Marchand couldn't control on the backhand. Marchand middle of the blue line, tries to cut inside. Daniel Sedin off his skates. Dougie Hamilton picks up the loose puck. Chara up the wall for Bergeron, goes indirect for Marchand. Marchand and Stanton. And Stanton takes it on the end boards. Daniel Sedin can't control the hot cross-ice pass from Diaz. Hamilton to Bergeron with Stanton closing. Stanton takes the puck away, goes down into the corner. Bergeron picks his pocket. Bergeron in front for Smith, couldn't kick to the stick. Smith lifts Hansen's stick, wins the puck back. Hansen gets it back though, cuts to the inside, accelerates out of the Vancouver zone. Skids it going wide of Rask, who got a stick on the puck. Chara goes against the grain and then doubles back. Campbell to Paille, drops it back to Campbell over the red line. Cross corner, flick in. Paille goes in after it and bangs Edler. Booth takes the pass from Garrison. Boychuk punches it away at the Boston line. Thornton picks up the self-pass. Schroeder takes a hit to move the puck back to Edler. Garrison just past the midpoint of the third period. Alex Edler has to turn back into his own zone. spins it toward Rask. He turns the bouncer back to Bartkowski, who accelerates past the post. Bartkowski right over the center dot, but Kassian breaks him down. Corrado holds off the skate of Kassian. Lucic flips to Krejci, he closes, tries the short side, and Luongo holds the post on him. 9:07 to go in the game. Bruins up 3-1 on Vancouver. The Bees haven't beaten Vancouver here since the 21st of December 2006. Gentlemen, thank you. The Vancouver Canucks having to play in a difficult place to play. And a large reason for that is Zdeno Chara, no pun intended. Matt Bartkowski, the wrist shot goes wide on the stick side of Luongo. Eriksson in a wrestling match with Booth. Kelly puts the body on Edler. Zdeno Chara with 7 points in his last 6 games, including tonight. This will be his finale, as the boys just mentioned, before getting the honor of a lifetime to carry his country's flag into the opening ceremony of the Olympic Winter Games. You know, it's hard to put a metric on that honor, Rick. And, you know, I mean, there are a handful of guys who get into the Hall of Fame every year. To be the one athlete from your country in a quadrennial sports celebration, to carry that flag, wow. To be the symbol of his country's sport. Chara throws it right on Rask. The backhand goes wide. Krejci with possession. The hooking call coming with 8:27 to go, and this is pretty close to a must-score power play for the slumping Vancouver Canucks.
Now this is where the Sedins have to step up their top offensive talent. They will be out there for the majority of the power play in all anticipation. And again, no timeout for Vancouver, so Boston looking to get set up right here and not allow their top players any kind of rest. Kelly ends up on the wrong side only because it looked like the Bruins had possession, but they fired it back towards their own net. Now you're at a disadvantage. So power play Vancouver down by a pair. Under 8.5 to go in regulation.
Number 23, Chris Kelly,
Boyd shot along the boards, kicking it loose. Bergeron flips it toward Marchand. Marchand gains the Vancouver line, goes to the corner. Can't get the puck back to Bergeron. Now Kessler up through the neutral zone. Henrik Sedin back to Kessler. In front. The drive by Daniel Sedin blocked before it gets through. Edler backpedals along the line. Squirts it past Henrik Sedin to Daniel Sedin. Up the boards. Edler was at the middle of the line. It comes all the way back to the Canucks zone.
Yeah, Edler had to come all the way across the blue line initially. Just didn't have time or didn't make the effort, either one, to get back to the boards.
Alexander Edler. Bartkowski gets a skate on the puck. Now ties up Edler. Henrik Sedin swivels out of the corner. Diaz cross ice. Daniel Sedin's drive, and Rask makes the stick save with Booth in his face. Edler off the boards to Booth. Booth turning off the half boards. Sends it low for Henrik Sedin. Booth setting up in front of Rask. Henrik Sedin has Diaz near side. Edler holds. Henrik Sedin with Campbell sweeping the stick in his path. Henrik Sedin saucer pass, rattles past Diaz to the Zamboni doors. Miller can't clear. Bartkowski and Booth. It hops over to Henrik Sedin. Edler to Sedin on the half boards. Campbell and Bartkowski on that side. Henrik Sedin holds, brings it back to Edler. Kessler to Edler, still on the perimeter. 15 seconds to go on the power play. It's off Diaz's skates in the slot. Bartkowski holds the puck along the kick plate. Henrik Sedin rakes it loose, but here comes Daniel Paille. Vancouver in the middle of a change, and Paille will just take the puck for a walk. One shot on goal for Vancouver during the power play.
Great penalty kill by Boston. Discipline, good decisions. Again, body stick position. Took away the Sedins and Kessler in the high slot. Didn't allow Booth to bother them at the top of the crease, and they got in the way of the shooting lanes from the point.
3-on-2. Daniel Sedin in front for Schroeder, and it goes all the way past Hansen on the right wing. Krug up the high glass, past Schroeder, all the way back. Garrison gums it intentionally wide. Luongo, the chant from the TD Garden crowd. Krug short hops it out through the neutral zone. Garrison racing back after the puck. Taps indirect for Stanton. Schroeder coming deep below the dots, but his pass too far forward for Burrows. Chara will nurse an icing out of it with 5.5 to go.
Go inside the locker room, on the ice, and closer to the Bruins than ever before with Behind the B, presented by Alex and Ani. Don't miss the all-new episode this Thursday, February 6th at 7 p.m. right here on NESN. To view outtakes or catch up on previous episodes, visit bostonbruins.com/Behind the B.
Carl Soderberg now 7-4 on faceoffs tonight. Hamilton to Eriksson, the one-touch release, catching and shooting the wrist shot all at once. The Bruins with a 3-1 lead on the Vancouver Canucks as we go late third.
Explanation. So you get an idea of what the Bruins are taught and the way they try to execute when they're trying to deny any kind of play to the slot area.
Kevin Miller turns away from Tom Sestito, and Lane tries to lay him out, but Miller was anticipating the hit, and the Bruins clear. Frank Corrado across in front of his goal. Jan Sove up the boards. Eriksson picks it up. Soderberg short of the line. Now Krug wrists it right in on Luongo. He sticks it to the end glass, and it caroms out of play. Claude Julien sends out Gregory Campbell, Sean Thornton, Daniel Paille, Bartkowski, and Boychuk. Schroeder to take the faceoff, and he wins it back to Garrison. Edler looks north and south. Campbell knocks the puck down waist high in the neutral zone and sends it in deep. Luongo draws Paille's forecheck, almost gives it away to Thornton. Boychuk pinches up here. Schroeder 2-on-1 with Kassian against Bartkowski. Schroeder's shot saved by Rask. Schroeder in the corner. Flips it past Kassian. Paille on the wall. Pelletier knocking the puck loose. Schroeder, the short pass saved by Rask, denying Pelletier. Edler wrists it into the legs of Boychuk. Can't golf it out of the zone. Thornton battles it through the neutral zone. It flips, tumbles, and skitters all the way to the end boards for icing.
Thursday night at 7:30, join Dale and Billy when WB Mason presents Bruins Face Off Live. They'll preview the Bruins matchup in St. Louis, take a look at the host country's chances for a medal in men's hockey at the Winter Games, and have all the latest NHL news. Check it all out Thursday at 7:30. Pretty nice stop, Jack, by Tuukka Rask on that 2-on-1. Bruins will use this icing to call a timeout, sort things out here in the final 5 minutes. But that was a nice stop by Rask. The Bruins do enough on the 2-on-1 to allow Rask to know shot coming from Schroeder.
Save of the game brought to you by Digital Federal Credit Union. What can DCU save you? Daniel Sedin had a chance.
At a critical time in the hockey game, Bruins on the power play, a little miscommunication. Krug and Lucic combined, or collide, I should say, and all of a sudden Sedin's in alone. Just he and Rask. Rask the better man. And it was shortly thereafter that Iginla scored on that power play to give the Bruins a 2-0 lead.
Huge pivotal point in this game. Kessler and Campbell on the faceoff. 4:12 to go. Neither Sedin brother has scored in his respective last 16 games, which are not the same 16. Daniels wrist shot and a glove saved by Rask. Henrik has not scored since he scored against Boston on the 14th of December. It's an astonishing drought for two guys who in consecutive years led the league in scoring. wins the faceoff against Kessler. Boychuk to Chara. He wrists the puck through the corner. Marchand can't clear the zone. Daniel Sedin right through the crease. Riley Smith, second effort. Goes backhand to Bergeron. He banks it off the boards. Kessler recovers. Stanton pivoting, wrists it off the boards to Daniel Sedin in the neutral zone. Bergeron just lets go of his stick as Daniel Sedin was doing the chicken wing, trying to get a hooking call. Daniel Sedin, the wrist shot in on Rask, and he cuddles it to take the faceoff with less than 4 minutes to go.
Now this puck actually takes a little bit of a funny bounce angle away from Bergeron. He's in perfect position to knock it down. When it gets by him, Sedin ends up with it. Wise move by Bergeron, just let go of the stick. I mean, you don't want to be out of the play and not have a stick, but in that situation, you don't want to take a penalty either.
Bergeron wins the faceoff straight back to the end boards. Chara goes up the wall. Krejci saucers it to Kevin Miller. Jerome McGinley backhands it past Edler. Down into the corner, Garrison. McGinley ties him up. McGinley on a tremendous tear, 11 points in his last 6 games, not consecutive, but there's Krejci turning out of the corner. Cassian blocks the pass intended for Krug. It's 2-on-2 up ice. Cassian moves to the middle. Schroeder has to play with the skate. Controls, comes cross ice. It's off Booth. Diaz's shot goes wide. Cassian jams with Miller, and the goal comes off its peg with 3:03 to go in the game.
The Bruins overcommit a little bit on their coverage once Cassian made that nice little move to the middle under the stick of Krug, and they overcommit to one side, and they leave that wide side too open. Nice little curl back move by Schroeder. He's been good tonight.
Yep.
Unfortunately for him, that pass not where it could be or needed to be in order to lead to a quality scoring chance, but there was a play to be made there as the Bruins got a little preoccupied with Schroeder with the puck on one side of the ice.
Point per game player at the University of Minnesota, and about 2/3 of a point per game player in the AHL, and ready to try his wares at the next level. Dalpy and Bartkowski on the far side. Dalpy loses his balance. Miller staples in Hansen. Now here's Bartkowski. Reverses past Miller. Soderberg unopposed on the far side. Wing to wing to Kelly. Drags it over the line. Drops it off for Eriksson with Kelly in front. Saved by Luongo. Sweet geometry by the Bruins as they come up with a burst in the last 3 minutes after a bit of a flat period.
And it started with that whip around where you go against the grain to a wide open winger on the opposite side of the ice. Soderberg open because of the wraparound by Bartkowski. Now you got a little speed. You go wing to wing long distance. You spread out the defense. A little crisscross coming across the blue line. Kelly and Eriksson. And Eriksson with that return pass to Kelly. I couldn't tell from up here if that puck landed in time or not, if Kelly had to get it out of midair before it landed.
The replay, it sure looks like he bats the wobbler right out of the air.
That was impressive, but a really well-executed play.
Marchand steers the puck just past Boychuk's reach. In front of the penalty bench doors, Boychuk drills it right back around. Garrison gives it away. Marchand closes, loses control, comes out the near side, brings it back to Boychuk. He's got Chara on the left side. Chara draws Kessler. The wrist shot rattles around. Luongo's butt end hit the strings of the net. Bergeron out to center. Henrik Sedin steals, tosses it to the wall. Luongo goes to the Vancouver bench. The net is empty in the Canucks end of the ice. Henrik Sedin banks it back to Rafael Diaz. Along the line for Edler. The wrist shot in front, looking for the backdoor tip by Henrik Sedin. Diaz down to the corner. Bergeron off the boards, up and into the Boston bench with 1:35 to go, and the crowd chanting Luongo, Luongo once again. Bodies have been banging all night long.
Well, that was the expectation when these two teams get together. The Bruins coming in with a sense of payback given what happened up in Vancouver, the 6-2 game. You know, Vancouver, the way they've been playing lately, they get their head coach back. This is only his second game back for Tortorella. Message delivered. We're playing a real good team, a team you have to respect because of the way the Bruins play. We got to match it. And we have to initiate. We have to be physical. We know what kind of heavy game it's going to be, but we can play it, and we need points. So it's been that kind of physical game at times.
Vancouver net empty. Diaz's blast goes into the legs of Iginla and flips over the glass about 8 rows high. John Tortorella's Canucks trying to work their way out of what is turning into a 5-game losing streak. Bergeron and Kessler on the faceoff. Bergeron wins another one back to the corner. Boychuk rattles it around. Krejci with an empty net, but Edler saves it at the blue line. Daniel Sedin on the end boards. Good body position by Krejci in the corner. Boychuk rattles the backhand around for Krejci, but it comes right to Diaz. The shot saved by Rask. 1:11 to go.
Now, Tuukka's been real sharp tonight, Jack. He looks rested. He looks like he's on top of his game. The concentration where it needs to be. He's allowed the game to come to him. He hasn't overcommitted at all. He's been deep when he's needed to be. He's been aggressive when he's read that the passing lanes were taken away. He's tracked the puck well. The rebound control's been real good. Still got a minute 11 work to do. But he's been outstanding.
Kessler wins the faceoff against Bergeron, but the Bruins pour bodies into the circle. Chara off glass. Schroeder trying the one-timer, but the Bruins have good layers. This one skitters toward goal. Does he get the break? No. Diaz back, and it's icing. Johnny Boychuk with a big grin on his face.
Yeah, he explodes to get to the puck. Needed to get his stick in the way to prevent a scoring chance in the slot. Now he's the first one on in the corner. And he goes indirect. First purpose, get it out of the zone. The luxury of the 2-goal lead, get it out. If it goes the length of the ice and in the open net, ooh, wouldn't that be fun? If it's icing, we're okay with that.
I believe they are double-checking the time. And that is the reason for the short pause here. Wes McCauley, the referee, consulting with the timekeeper, and they reset the clock to 58.4 seconds.
Krejci had an opportunity to get around Edler. Almost could have gone with that little chip by him, self-pass into the neutral zone, but he kept the puck on the ice, tried to make the move to the backhand, and Edler kept it in.
Boychuk blocks Daniel Sedin's pass. Schroeder, the backhand to Henrik Sedin, to the corner to Daniel Sedin, back to Diaz, slap pass, the drive from Edler far side, flips over the bar. Daniel Sedin to Diaz, indirect. Daniel Sedin spins it through the corner. Boychuk pins it against the boards with 30 seconds to go. Henrik Sedin trying to stab it loose. Kelly to Chara, 2-on-1 with Iginla with an empty net. Chara flips it down to the right wing, looking for Iginla. Goes to the end boards. Kelly with Bergeron in front. Cycles to Iginla in the final 10 seconds. Kelly holds it. Enough unselfishness, fellas. Miller into the middle. Kelly back to Miller. What the heck? Oh, he leaves a mark on Kessler. And the Bruins beat the Vancouver Canucks 3-1.
Heads up little pass by Chris Kelly for one last little piece of analysis. Right on the side of the net, little chip pass to a wide open Chara led to a potential empty net goal with he and Iginla. That didn't work, but this was a real workmanlike effort by Boston tonight. They got the lead, they extended the lead, they played physical, they played hard, they limited Vancouver. Vancouver played hard. I give them credit. They're a little short-handed right now. They have a lot of self-doubt with their team. They're trying to figure it out. They're probably going to welcome the Olympic break with open arms in order to get some rest and get ready for a strong push in March. But Boston continues to bank points, knowing what they have in front of them in terms of the challenges of March and April as well.
This building's still a tough place to play. Dale, the Bruins 19-3-2 in their last 24 at TD Garden.
Make it 22 wins on the season at home as well. Coming up on Ace Ticket Bruins Overtime Live, reaction from the victorious Bruins dressing room. Claude Julien will go one-on-one with Jamie Erdahl. We'll preview Thursday's game in St. Louis against the Blues. Ace Ticket Bruins Overtime Live coming right up.